say Alaska's situation is such that the people are focused on more local issues than the overarching dynamic of what's happening in our entire system, in the entire world.
Well, we attended there was a House of Representatives Natural Resources Committee out in Fresno, California, and it was specifically on the drought crisis hitting the entire state and really having the largest impact economically and socially on the Central Valley. And most of it's just bandstanding. So you've got tons of people there. It's a work day. They've got no work. They've got no water. Their farms are getting shut down. There's not going to be any harvest. Migrant farm families are going to be eliminated. And the clear recognition, what's in the sights, is the environmentalist agenda and the Wall Street slave policy, which was best seen in what Obama said. Here's $60 million for some rice and beans. Why don't you just, that won't suffice.
There's a lot of talk now, and we just had this. There's a big push for the imperial presidency. We've got a president unlike any we've seen with this many in the past.
Because really you can't intelligently deal with anything unless you have the big picture. I've been focusing specifically on organizing for Glass-Steagall, but it relates to everything. There was a particular poignant moment with the older statesman that really hadn't seen the connection between the drive for war with Russia and the collapsing transatlantic financial empire. He was unaware, he was a Jewish gentleman, he was unaware that we were actually sponsoring not neo-Nazis, not Nazi wannabes, but actual Nazis in overthrowing this government.
The second thing, in that vein, we are much closer to destruction than most people think. This is not an issue of the November 2014 election, and it's not an issue of the 2016 elections, obviously. Right now, with Obama in the White House, around this issue of Ukraine and the Crimea, and the executive branch, the State Department, meddling in Ukrainian sovereignty, as the tape with Victoria Nuland is explicit. She's on tape, backing a fascist coup against the Russian government, a government that's also a nuclear power. We are closer to October 1962. People know the reference, than you can imagine. We're closer to it.
And the situation is not just bad, it is desperate. It is critical for many of these people. So we had a chance to attend the hearing, and it's all bandstanding, both from the Democrats on Tuesday, which were largely state reps, and then the Republicans on Wednesday from the House of Representatives. It's all bandstanding. It's all a question of storage, building more dams, building the current dams to be a little bit bigger. The problem is that there's a drought. There isn't a lot of water. That would have worked 5 years ago. You can say, I told you so, but the question is, what are you going to do to make the future better? And not just win your election because you said you warned about this in the past. Where is the water going to come from? And there are real no solutions. The only thing they say that is right is that since 1992, and the environmentalist agenda came in policy directly, they were shutting down the water supply even on better years. And that has had an impact. And what it has done, it has increased the tension politically, because now it's a very, very bad year, the worst on record, and it might not be just this year, it could be many years to come. And so there is real crisis and panic.
There's a loss of vision, therefore a loss of hope, generally, culturally, and everyone is infected with it. And one of the comments from one of the legislators was, we were so fortunate to live when we did. The idea being that that was like the peak of living, and it's all downhill from here. And our future generations will never have that quality of prosperity or whatever, but the idea is lost that we can progress. The idea of progress is lost. Well, we just can't do it. We can't do that. This is too big. Where are we going to get the money? We don't have that kind of money.
The only way to stop it, as has been brought up already or hinted at, would be to impeach this president, to impeach him now. He has to go. We had a mobilization in Washington. We may have intersected you down there in D.C. for the impeachment on the Democratic offices, Republican offices, independents, everybody. And in the context of that mobilization, you had a Democrat, Dianne Feinstein, come out in a very surprising move against the administration. So if people thought, oh, you can get it to the House, but you can't get it to the Senate, throw it away. We have a total revolutionary period where Democrats, Republicans, anybody who's American can recognize that this guy is not only worse than Nixon, but he's much more impeachable. He's not even, and it's possible that it would come from both houses. So my question to you, Congressman, is what would be stopping you from sponsoring or co-sponsoring a bill of impeachment now, immediately, to get this guy out of the White House?
And we can break free of this paralysis, this cultural malaise of loss of hope. People are not seeing the big picture, that this is check. You know, this we're in check right now. And one more move, it's checkmate. But we have a counter move, it's kind of risky, and we can win the game if we act now. If we wait, you know, if we blow it, we're done. We no longer have production that's driving a U.S. economy. We've made this shift between a gross national product that was measured in numbers of bolts per man hour and that sort of stuff to numbers of dollars produced.
We had a chance to address about 5 of the 7 or so members of Congress attending. One was Democrat, most were Republicans. And there is no aggressiveness on impeachment. The Republicans, whether they say it on news broadcasts or media interviews or just in between the lines, they are not going for impeachment. They're going to exploit the hatred of Obama, the crisis of the Democratic Party around their environmentalist genocide agenda that they've accepted or adopted, and they're going to try to milk that for electoral gains to bring in the same policies, the same Dick Cheney, fracking, war, economic destruction, Wall Street program. And they're not going to offer any real fundamental alternatives, and they're not going to take any urgent steps to impeach Obama. But they are going to toe the line of Wall Street's and the Bush League Republicans that they're not going to do anything to disrupt this election period. And the idea that any American would believe that somehow Republicans are going to come in with a majority in the House and Senate and then do something instead of just focus on the presidential elections, you know, any American who believes that is, you know, worse than the Republicans. So, you know, these guys have to be challenged. And the crisis is real. And the people in these rallies, they don't believe them. They don't believe the Democrats. They don't believe the Republicans. It's all ideological, political bandstanding.
As our State Department determining who would be coming in as the next government from a deposed government of a sovereign nation, that seems illegal to me.
Well, yeah, well, I guess the thing is, if you're having the conversation...
The same thing I told those other guys. It's just like the impeachment of Eric Holder. If leadership won't bring it up, it's just going to be an idle thing.
Russia is not the one that is supporting a fascist government. It is the United States.
Well, again, that's a matter of opinion.
Why we don't bring these up, it's a lack of leadership. And I've said this over and over again. John Boehner is the one that's in charge of doing that. They need to be able to bring that up. And they don't want to do that because they don't want to rock the boat because they're trying to win November.
The disconnect from the reality that John Kennedy said, these problems, if they're created by man, they could be solved by man. And the idea that we can, again, do great things and build great things, and that we don't have to be shackled to this dying global financial empire.
And people saw it, and there were actually signs attacking. They don't want handouts. They want the right to work, to make a living, and to contribute something. And that's from the farmers and the farm workers.
This whole green policy that is crippling us, it's touted as the last frontier. What a joke. I think 98% of the land is locked up in preserves and parks and government land. It's not a frontier unless you can go to work and build and create and develop.
What they want are physical policies. Shut down this green agenda. Bring in nuclear desalination. Bring in real water policies. bring in the WAPA, solve these droughts for the next 1,000 years. People like that, and so our literature, our leaflets went like hotcakes. A lot of contacts were made. We've just got to escalate this kind of intervention. But the first step is obviously, once Obama's gone, these things can be addressed. The more he's in there, the nation's going to be devastated.
It's certainly not within my comfort zone to go up there and to walk around and sit down with all these intelligent people and have these discussions. It's a little intimidating, but you find, to your amazement, if you go ahead, you just step out and do it, you find, to your amazement, things just work out. If you've got if your heart's in the right place, you've got these big ideas, the whole universe is working behind you. It's just really, really, really rewarding. Sort of like you're moving in concert with the best in humanity, with the best elements of humanity. It's an exciting and a creative thing, and it causes. It's an important thing that needs to happen. You're part of a process of really redemption in a sense, truly.